What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for stopping by on Friday night, Christmas Eve. And we got an awesome show for you guys tonight. With me tonight, we have James Brost and Stacy Brown from Outkast Paranormal. And pretty soon, Barry and Derek Webster from Rez Squatchin Research. They'll be here joining us as well. Just real quick, we are waiting on them to come in. So, guys, all right, a little bit of backstory. I was able to watch the film before it releases in the next hour, and these guys have made something that was truly incredible with this one. I watched the whole series so far of when you got, from the first one till now. What was that experience like for you going back up there, James?
It was different. I mean, Stacy was there the first time, and we probably had about 9 people, I think, with us total, 7, 8, 9.
It was a crew.
Yeah, it was a crew. We had Corey Heinzen, who owned the Conjuring House, because he had never experienced anything outside of a house or structure. He's been doing this paranormal investigation at the mecca of paranormal places. He lived in owned the Conjuring House till recently. We had Corey, we had a whole crew, and so it was that element of, and like I said, when you get up there, you can have a call sheet and times and stuff all lined up. You might as well go ahead and throw that away. It ain't going to roll like that, because you're kind of in their backyard, and it's just going to go that way. You're not going to be the ones calling the shots as far as where you go and when you go. But so we went up there, and it was freezing cold. And this is a Indian reservation on the Missouri River, right? So you're thinking Nebraska, I'm thinking flat cornfields. It wasn't like that. You get into Omaha and you drive a couple hours north, and you get near the Missouri River, and there's rolling hills and there's timber. And so the terrain looked okay. I could see it, right? I could see the terrain being conducive to something like Bigfoot. And when you get up there, you go to these places, they take you, and they've got nicknames for them, because they don't want these places being filmed and tribal members seeing that, going, you guys are poking around here, you guys are poking around there. So they kind of, we did code names for certain areas. And I think the first night, if I'm not mistaken, Bill Brock and Stacy, they come upon this one area called Dogman Hill, right? Because they have not just Bigfoot activity, but a whole host of stuff. And they come across a big track that's, what do you think? It had to be about 600 pounds to leave it, right?
Oh, yeah. The track itself, probably 15, 16 inches, but the ground was so hard, and this thing left an indentation. And there was several tracks going up the hill into a trail. And it was like, how in the hell did we find? I literally we walked to the first game trail, and then just 10 feet down it, and there's just this huge track. And they were making fun of us. Remember, they were making fun of us, talking shit. They're like, oh, y'all so worried about tracks, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was, to me, if I come across something like that, I'll cast it, and then I'll ask like Cliff, Dr. Meldrum, I'll reach out to some sources I have to get their thoughts on it, but you always want to take it. You always want to cast it, and I was like, shit, we can come back out here tomorrow. We had even made plans to come back out, and then they changed them. Because they weren't impressed by the track. Their relationship with these animals is so much further than that. It's like, you know what I mean?
Well, speaking of, Barry's actually here, so let's bring him up. Hey, Barry, very nice to meet you. I know you know these guys.
Hey, how you doing, man?
What's up, bro?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Sugarwood.
What's
What's up, brother James?
Brother, what's up? The Scooby-Doo of the Rez. What's happening, man?
Not much, man. I just got back from shopping, so
I hope you got
I actually just walked in the door, man. I kind of lost track of time, so I'm glad I'm here. I made it on time, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. Thank you very much for giving us your time tonight. It's greatly appreciated.
Oh, you bet, man. Well, I'd do anything for these guys, man.
So Barry, you wanna give us a little bit of a background of what it is that you guys do?
Oh, I can't even think of my elevator pitch now. Now we're a Native American, as the non-natives call it, Bigfoot research team. We're located out of Macy, Nebraska, on the Omaha homelands, Omaha tribe of Nebraska, and I got what I really love about this whole thing is that I got a great team, of experienced individuals and who are very dedicated and committed to our mission and vision of what we do. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was able to watch the film a little bit earlier today, and I was just blown away. I've watched the whole series so far, but this one really felt very, very heartfelt. I was very touched by not just obviously I'm into the paranormal and the Bigfoot and all that stuff, and the film really hit home on those, but like to show some of like the struggles and the triumphs that you guys go through every day, it's truly incredible that you've turned yourself into like this pillar of the community. And you have my utmost respect for that, because where I'm from, we don't have anything like that down here.
Okay.
But and what Barry also I always throw this out there. He was playing for just to get to know, like, he's a competitive dude, right? And when we get up there, what I found and what Stacy found is it's not like you're going to be challenged, right? And that's just his nature. It's like he's going to challenge you. He's going to piss you off. And he also, back in, Barry, what year did you play college hoops, man? What was the team again?
87, 88.
Yeah. And who was it for?
United Tribes Technical College.
So check this out. College. United Tribes Technical College. They're playing a game, and they got some people injured. They get some people that foul out, and it comes down to they can only play 3 of their guys against 5 of this other team. And they end up winning, and old homeboy here, Barry, drops like 29 points, leading scorer, right? And so they feature that in ESPN, called an article called The 3-Man Weave. And it talks about it. And then just last week, Forbes magazine used that same story as an analogy in one of their articles too. So we haven't squared up and played hoop yet, but we will. Sometimes we will. With my back and knees, I'm just going to have to stay behind the 3-point line and see if I can make enough.
Very cool.
But also on his team, he didn't mention, they've got some guys on their team that, like Richard. I really was impressed with Richard. And you see Richard in the film, but when you really sit down and talk with Richard, he'll break down some stuff for you that you're like, whoa. His research goes really, 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 really deep, to a point where you're like, this isn't just some guy walking around in the woods, right? And the thing that impressed me when I took Richard aside was Stacy mentioned Dr. Meldrum, Cliff, and some other people. Well, I can tell you I could list probably about 7 more people that have been up there that people would know by name if we brought them up here on the show. And all those people came and went, right? They came and went. They were kind of like came and not really invited back. And I don't want to take liberties here, but most of them, it kind of goes back to Stacy talking about that footprint he found that night. They weren't impressed because footprints apparently are a dime a dozen. That's not what that's not what the if you knew what Barry knew and what they encountered, footprints don't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
And these guys are like, well, we just really all we want to see is footprints, and it kind of harkens back to what you'll see in some of this in the film, that this isn't based off of we're looking for a perhaps rare species of something out there. It's it's an ancient people, right? And Richard even has a theory on that he breaks down. Kind of blew my mind for like a half an hour. So when I pull Richard aside the first time we're up there and I'm talking to him about how this came to pass, how does a white dude like you end up on an Indian reservation for like 10 years lockstep researching, and he just flat out looked me square in the face and said, James, they're here. Like, they're here. I'm not coming all this way and doing this, spending a decade because I got nothing else to do. They're here, and he kind of broke down some of the encounters, some of the evidence and everything that he's accumulated, and some of the other people that you think Barry and company would be really impressed with that came out there, and they're not impressed. It's just like, it's almost either you get it or you don't. And, once that became very clear that this whole approach isn't like anything you've ever heard, then you can kind of follow along, and it's not a cut and dried knocking on trees. Let's get some trail cam set up and let's try to trick them, and get some evidence. It doesn't work like that, And I think there's a big lesson in there for everybody, maybe in the Bigfoot world, that, what you're dealing with may not be what you think you're dealing with. And, Barry has had 15 going on 16 years now of interaction, right? This isn't like I saw something 4 times, this is a relationship. And we try to drive that home in the film, that it's, a relationship. It's not based off of science. It's based off of faith. And it's much deeper than some animal out there. It's what I believe is a group of people that have interacted with the tribe for as long as the tribe's been around,
Yeah.
So anyway,
so Barry, let's talk a little bit about what it is that's different that you guys do. I think there was a specific part in the film where you had said that you guys aren't doing it the white man's way, and like, what is it that's really different about what you guys do?
Well, I think what if I was pushing hard, and if I put the entrepreneur hat on, and if I was pushing hard or positioning, I would say that that I would probably what differentiates us, and this is deep, I don't, if I feel you're the type of person that I can relate to, and I feel your spirit, after 5 minutes, then I'll pull you aside. And if you really want to know, and I'm going to say it, during our pre-show party, that, and this is what really stood out to me lately. If you're a friend of mine, and you probably say, wow, this dude is really into his spirituality, you'd probably say that about me. The hard truth is I'm just an ordinary guy, who loves God and has a testimony in Jesus Christ. I suppose I could act like, I'm the Squatcher, but I don't think that was my goal, to brand myself that way. I will say this, and it really struck with me. This struck a chord, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And this is what I learned lately, that when Moses was leading his people out of Egypt, and you have to listen to this, whoever's, badass Bigfooter out there. When it really, again, I want to emphasize it. that when Moses was leading his people out of bondage, and this is my best example, that it wasn't because of his personal strength, or it was by the power of God. He caused the Red Sea to open because of his faith. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Now, I'm not comparing myself to Moses by no means, but what I'm saying is that's the faith and the spiritual side of it. Now, James probably got the best example. Even when there was people around, there was a little commotion going on. Him and I stood there, and I said, James, just stay here with me, man. We had some commotion. We had a little incident going on behind us, but I wanted so bad for him to feel something. And James, do you remember when the commotion was almost over, but then we started to pray. And what did you feel, James?
You know, I'll give two examples of that. When we did that the first time up, Barry was right. There was this almost a lot of disruptions and confusion, and then we just said, come on. And he took me a little further out, and we just got quiet, and he did what he did. You know, he prayed, and we just stood there quietly. All of a sudden, I got goosebumps from head to toe. I felt like when you walk into a static charge, and it's like, here it comes. Here it comes. Like something's coming. I don't know what. And right after that, the ruckus started again, and it just stopped. It just stopped. Second time we're up, and you'll see this on the film, Barry takes us to a spot, and you know, we're up there, and this time the rules were, look, we're going to scale this way down. I mentioned earlier we had like 9 people and a bunch of cameras and everything like that. This other time we had like, you know, 3 or 4, and we kind of said, let's break up into groups and only have like 2 groups of 3, 1 camera, and go out and do what you do. And he took me to a spot, and we just said, cut the lights off, you know, cut the camera off. And we're standing on the edge of this road, and there's this tall dead grass leading down to the where the ground meets, and then it goes out and it's just timber, which is bare because it's wintertime. You can see everything. And Barry does what he does. He said, let's just pray. So we got same thing, got real quiet and prayed. And I hear footsteps, like it must be 10 feet away. Like someone's literally just walking, not like a heavy man's walking. I don't say anything. And, but Barry stops praying, and I'm like, I know he heard it because he stopped. And then he does it again, and the footsteps start up again. And this time I got to say something. I'm like, do you hear that? And Barry's like, yeah, it's footsteps. And he does it again, and we hear another set of footsteps come up. And then when we cut on the lights, there's nothing there. I mean, then it's right there. And Barry talks about, you know, and people, not just Barry, talk about, well, this cloaking almost type of thing, where if they might let you know they're there, but they're not going to let you see them. I didn't have an explanation for that. And then Barry kind of nudges me and says, hey, dude, why don't you say something? And so I kind of go into talking, you know, like, hey, we came a long way. We want to be respectful. We're here to learn. We're here. You can do anything. You can just let me know you're here, throw a rock, whatever. And I said, reach out to me any way you can. And the second I do that, what happened with me and Barry at the one site happened again, only this time 20 times as strong. I was literally shaking, and I thought I was going to like fall out. And I'm vibrating like a tuning fork. And then Barry kind of starts talking like, hey man, I don't like it when you do this. These are my friends. Don't be afraid of the light. You know, James, he's been here before. And I'm just trying to keep my act together, man. I think I'm literally going to maybe fall out. And then after that, Barry said, I want to try something else. I'm going to make a noise and you make a noise. And Barry stomps. And as soon as he stomps, he said, okay, I made a noise. Now it's your turn. And right when he says the word turn, we hear two grunts, literally 10 feet away, like two clear grunts. And I'm thinking, well, if it's a deer huffing, we've been up here for a half an hour. We pull up in pickup trucks. We're standing there talking, you know, and it's you could see everything. That's just it. I mean, you put a light on there, you see everything. We just would have ran with the light, you know, whatever. Why then, right when he said that happened. And then Barry thanked him, like, for, you know, they're letting us know they're here, but they're not ready to reveal themselves 100%. I couldn't explain it. But that feeling I had the one night where the tingling was starting, that started to happen when I was talking to him. And then when I said, you know, hey, you can go ahead and touch me or anything, it came on full force, man. I was vibrating. I'd never had that happen before.
That's incredible, man. And James, just to be clear, like, as far as Outkast Paranormal goes, you're like the group skeptic, like true and true. Like, you're very skeptical about the things that cannot be explained, right?
You know, I'm just a dude, man. Like I say in the movie, I'm just a cat that had a serious interest in this stuff since I was a kid, watching Leonard Nimoy's In Search Of and all that. And I just wanted to, like, I want to go where something I believe is really happening. And when I came across Barry's story and kind of took months in his research, and I'm like, I want to go there, man. And I finally reached out to Barry, and we talked a bunch, you know, before we ever got up there. And like Barry told me from the gate, he's like, you know, I'm not just like, hey, yeah, come on up. You know, I kind of got to get to know you. And we talked for hours, man. And, you know, I know what I know, but I'm the type of guy that's like, I want to see it, man. I want to experience it. Look, man, 90% of a lot of the stuff you see online or people put out there, it's just crap. You know what I mean? It just is. And I don't care if we're talking about Bigfoot, or if we're talking about anything. That's the world we live in, right? So it's always, if something's compelling, take me up there, man. Let me see if we can experience it. And with this film, you'll see what I just mentioned on film, and you'll also see some other stuff. You know, this isn't like the reservation's a special place, and there's a special history there, and there's special areas that, like, the history has echoes. You know what I mean? And they call it Tonga, right? That's the native tongue for Bigfoot. So Tonga and some of these places correlate, you know, and you don't just get maybe a large hairy humanoid stomping around. You get, and I don't want to give stuff away because, you know, there's a lot more to be revealed that isn't on this film, but there's a lot more than just you know, something big leaving footprints. And they took us to some places that had, you know, 100-year-old houses that were abandoned, that candidly, when we rolled up on them, I'm like, this looks like the exact, like, Universal Studios haunted house. Like, this would be the perfect place to film it. But we'd have to cut the camera sometime because there's some pertinent history there that they don't want out there, right? It's not like a need to know. It's just, if I trust you, I'll tell you the story, but that's all the further it goes. And you can go in and investigate. And some of those places, it was wild. And you'll see that in the film too. It ties together, you know, because I don't want to give it away, but it all kind of ties together. And you know, there's something about it. And I guess it was kind of cool because I know there's not a lot of people that get up there that get access to a lot of these spots. There's just not. Film crews, let's call it what it is, aren't going to be able to go up there, be taken to these spots and get a chance to do what you do. But I put it this way. I left there knowing there's things I can't square up, you know, with logic. I can't square up with science. I can't square up with traditional means. You know, there was some stuff happening, and that's just the surface of it. You know, I'm just scratching the surface as far as saying there's stuff happening. It kind of, I don't want to minimize it, but I also don't want to, you know, give too much away.
No, I completely understand. Barry. So, like, I know in the film, and he kind of briefly touched on it earlier, that other people had come to the Rez and didn't really tell your story, and the story of what's really happening there the way that you wanted. Do you feel like these guys right here have successfully begun the process of putting your vision out in front of the world?
You know, I'll have to say this, that we had what I would call a little audition. We had some groups, you know, come before us, and we were looking for the right fit. We were looking for the alignment, so to speak, the same values. And I have to tell you that these guys were a class act. You know, they came in, conducted themselves, despite what the world thinks about all of us. You know, I think this here documentary, as I would call, if we're sitting around the cabin, you know, was badass in a good way, you know. And I apologize if that offends people, but sometimes you just have to say what you mean. And I'll say this, that I appreciated the approach, because behind the scenes it was done very respectful. The intent wasn't to come in to exploit anybody or anything. And so their intentions were always what I felt was very honest, very straightforward. Stacy Brown brought it. He came in, and I appreciated what I respected the most about them was their intuitiveness, and they weren't afraid. If you squatch with Barry Webster, and over the years, I've had plenty of people try to say, hey, bro, you know, can I come up? Can I come up? And I get a lot of that, and no offense to nobody, but I've had some people get scared. And if there's one thing, and I don't know why, you know, if there's one thing that pisses Barry off, is when you show weakness. And these guys came in, and that's what I liked about him. Now, Derek, my brother, he might have another opinion of what his pet peeves, or he may have other thoughts, but I can tell you that these guys showed no fear, and I respected that, because they went into some areas that were just, you know, not your ordinary dude can go in, you know, and take that challenge on. So I don't even know if I answered that question. Did I?
No, you did. You definitely did.
I was rambling now. Shit.
No,
man, that was perfect. That was a perfect answer.
Well,
So,
you know, the first time we went up, when Stacy was there, I mean, we've got a film coming out in an hour and a half on Paraflixx. If you're watching this, and you go there, it's like $3.99 a month, or you can do a free trial, watch it, and then never do it again. So you can pretty much watch it for free if you want to. But there's also a YouTube series on our YouTube channel that we did from the first trip, and Stacy put that together as far as the editing stuff. I think I love it. I mean, there's like 5 of them in there, and Stacy went up to a spot that, like, a lot of people aren't just going to roll up into, that one night with Bill, and did some certain things. And you guys, you're talking about a shadow walking by. You're talking.
Yeah, it was one of those spots that I don't think many people even know about. You know what I mean? So, like, when you get to go to a place like that and you realize that, like, all right, hey, he just told me about some stuff that I don't even know if everybody that lives on that reservation knows about that place. You know what I mean? So me as an outsider, I was thrilled, you know, to get up there. But then when we got up there, you're just walking through the woods, you know, and then this spot shows up. It's a graveyard, you know, in the middle of nowhere. And we're doing I start with my singing bowl, right? trying to get the energies up, everything on a, even keel, a good level, and before we can even fire up the spirit box, the ringing from the bowl is coming back.
Oh.
It was so strange. It was like we had stepped, like, because they weren't far away, maybe half mile, maybe. I couldn't tell because we were walking over hills and stuff. But maybe a half mile away at the truck. It's like there was nobody for miles, and the sound is just like we were all stopped. Like, can you hear that? And it just, it continues to like builds, and then it stops. And it's like everybody was at the same time was like, "Oh wow, it stopped," and like we ended up firing up the spirit box. We got some good stuff out of it, but as we're looking, and now it's dark, we've got some lights right here so we can film, but away from the lights, it's just darkness. And you see a darker spot move, right? It's hard to explain because you're like, all right, are my eyes playing tricks on me? But then again, why am I not seeing more of them? You know what I mean? Because I'm still staring off. I'm still out here looking around, to see if I can see any lights pop up. Because I was asking to see lights, but it didn't. I don't think we saw lights. The only thing that stuck with me from that was the shadow that like almost went all the way around us, and it wasn't just me that saw it. So it was just weird because you would think it'd be like maybe a bird flew over, cast a shadow real quick or something, but it was dark. And what shadow was it going to cast? I couldn't really place, what I was seeing. And that was, we just got up and we were like, all right, let's head on back. I don't know that we're supposed to be here. So we respectfully said goodbye and turned the devices off and got out of there. Not that we were scared. It was just like I said, it seemed like we were in this other place.
Yeah.
They were still a half mile away, but it's like nobody, I don't know how to explain that. I'm probably explaining that bad, but it was like we stepped into another part. You know what I mean? That's what the impression I left with that.
And I tell you what, like with the first time we went up and the second time we went up, that night that I had the experience on the road there, dirt road, and the footprints or the footsteps and the grunts. The other group was out with his brother. Derek took him out, and they got there, and I tell you, the whole world changes there at night. Like you think you're in the daytime, like, oh, this will be cool to come out here at night. You get out there at night, and you're like, oh man, this takes on a whole new. Like I said, it's dark, and they get there and they're driving and park the truck, and it slopes up, right? It slopes up, and it's just timber. Where before it slopes up, they start seeing lights popping up, right? Not above the hill line, but in the timber. And then they turn blue, and one pair stands up, and one of our cameramen, Eli, he's a great kid, but he's always like, yeah, I don't know. And he got back in the truck and he was like, dude, I saw like all these lights and they changed colors, and he described how they changed from like amber to red to green to blue. And they go back there in the daytime and they walk it. And they're like, that there's no way it could be anything over the slope because it's a slope, right? We don't see any, it's blocking anything there. And we saw it below the slope line. Again, and look, there's so many others. You got days out there and you sit and talk with Barry, with Derek and his team, and the stories, and there's a lot more that has never seen the light of day as far as videos and evidence and film. And, it's just scratching the surface, So the things that maybe the traditional Bigfooters would get excited about, it feels like, been there, done that. That's not the big deal here. And I will say this, that, the whole, there's some credence to when Barry says the approach. It's not like Barry has a certain approach as far as like, well, here's what we do. We leave bait out and then we do this with cameras. It's none of that at all. And we talk about that in the film too. We want to make that really clear. It's faith, 100%. And it's funny as I've been trying to promote this film and putting it out there into the Bigfoot world, just the title alone that has faith in it, I've had more people hit me back and say, what do you mean by faith? Like it's this crazy notion.
They get angry.
Yeah, they got people that, they got angry at me for including faith in it. I said, well, I guess you're just going to have to watch it, But
that's a nice pitch.
I think the point's driven home, and that's the important part, is that their approach is not an approach in the sense of anyone in the Bigfoot world would equate to as an approach. But go up there and experience it, and you might start to believe that this whole Bigfoot world's been off base as far as what they think they're dealing with. And so that comes through real clear. And then when you're out there and you do these things, and they happen, you're like, okay, all right, I get it. And like I say in the film, there was a part when I first met Barry, it seemed like, man, Barry seems pissed at the Bigfoot world. What's he so angry about? But then you kind of see where, without having the whole Bigfoot world come up there, which would ruin it anyway, and experience it, how could you know? And it's hard to articulate until you're there and just do it, right? It's just a matter of experiencing it. But also, I think they gave many examples of people that came up there that didn't have. See, Tonga kind of knows, if you think about it, no one's ever been able to capture one. No one's been able to outsmart one. So either that's a ninja intuitive being, or there's abilities to be able to maybe know what I'm thinking and what I'm up to when I don't even know they're there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not going to be a step ahead of them. They're 10 steps ahead of me. Not only externally, but internally. And that, there seems to be more proof for that than there's more proof for not being that. Right?
I completely agree.
Well, like with people, they say that the normal researchers, I guess, or your apers, your things that think this thing's just a primate running out there, are like, oh, well, it's elusive. Okay, so why is it elusive? Can we find out what that is? You know what I mean? And maybe they're reading your body language, or maybe they are reading your thoughts, or maybe they can know your intentions. Like there's something else, you know what I mean? Because my buddy Les Stroud said it. If this thing was a normal ape, it would be in a zoo.
Yep.
But it ain't in a zoo. And so why is everybody so argumentative and like hard-headed to where they can't open up to these other things about something they know nothing about? Yeah. Because they don't know nothing. They're like, honestly, all these experts and stuff, they don't know nothing they didn't know 50 years ago. Why can't, do you see hitting your head into the wall here and you're not getting any more, you know what I mean? You're not getting any more progress. Maybe change something up. What's it going to hurt? Like, that's the other thing. Like when they're giving us crap about the faith in the film, what is it going to hurt? Is it bothering you? Is it taking time out of your day to just be like, hey, it could be true? It's not. You're just a dick. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. People get set in their ways and they don't want to change, but that's fine. because I don't mind getting up here to get a front row seat to it. You know?
Yeah, no,
Right.
no,
And
I
what's
get
funny
it.
is these are people that have zero evidence, period, in the story. They find all their evidence off of pictures off the internet and stories off the internet. And they want to sit back and judge someone who's been like interacting for 16 years and has tons of stuff that they're not going to put out on the internet. And, you know, so I see the frustration there. But to Stacy's point, you know, no one can produce something that says, well, you know, here it is. Look, we've got groups that you have a stick that's sticking up out of the mud, and they're like, that's unusual. That must be a Bigfoot. I mean, you know what I mean? And they're tromping around and they're going, you know, they're knocking on trees. And that's cool, whatever, you know, and maybe there is definitely something to that, you know, the knocks. I mean, we went up to mid Florida with a different group. And after we left Barry's the first time, I'm not sure when it was. All I know is cold. It was cold in Nebraska, and it was the coldest night on record in Florida. So it was just cold. But we went to a spot that Stacy knows, and we get out. We send a group up to walk down the road. They're walking down this road, and then we're like, okay, now we'll go. And we go, and they said, don't do any of the knocking or anything, all right? Because we don't want to, we need to talk on the walkies and say, you know, if you're going to do something, let us know. We walk and we hear like, and it echoes like someone took a bat to a tree. And we just stop dead in our tracks. And one kid who's been to Bluff Creek and all these places, he turned to me, he's like, that was the clearest knock I've ever heard in my life. And we call ahead and say, did you guys just do that? And they're like, no, don't knock. They're telling us don't knock. We're like, no. Did you? Like, no, we agreed not to. Okay. We keep walking. A minute later, an even louder knock from just the other side of the trail, and it echoes like through the night. So we're going, oh, that's weird. So we meet up, we walk back, we get to the cars. Me and the same kid happen to be looking in the wood line. We see a ball of blue light shoot from the treetops and zigzag and then fade out. And it's about this big, and it's blue, and it's not a bug. It's softball size, and it zigzags, and we have it on audio. We're like, what in the world is that? I used a different word, but couldn't reconcile it. And these guys, I say all that to say this. These guys are firmly in the camp that it's some animal, right? They got nothing to back it up, but they don't buy into a spiritual connection, right? And it's contempt prior to investigation. If you haven't walked where someone's walked and experienced what they've experienced using their method, and it's not a method, I guess that's what, I don't have the right word for it. It's kind of Barry's, it's who he is, it's his heart, right? He's a man of faith. And as I talk about in the film, Barry initially tried, they knew they were there. The tribe's always known they're there. They said it's an ancient people that we coexist with, leave them alone. And I think it was your son that said when Finding Bigfoot and all that was coming out, he's like, hey, Dad, we know they're out there. Let's go find them. And again, I told you Barry's a competitive guy. And he said, all right, challenge accepted. Let's go for it. And so what did they do? They went, like he said, the white man way. Let's knock on trees and yell in the woods. And then he just said, you know what? I got to go with my heart. And I'm a man of faith. I'm gonna pray. And that started the relationship. And it's been ongoing for 16 years now, isn't it, Barry?
Yeah. Actually, off and on, it's more than that, but actively about 16 years. Yeah. You know, let me share something. As I was listening here, you know, I heard this thing about faith, you know, that some people may be getting upset about it, you know, and I have to tell you that that would be like a cardinal sin, you know, in my culture. You know, we hold them in high esteem. And Matt, I'm gonna say it to you on here, not because I want to promote myself or our little group, But Matt, I have, as James said, and I'm gonna tell whoever's listening out there, you know, it as I look back on this, you're actually, you know, hearing a common man say that I have a relationship with them, a friendship with them. And that's to me, I can't even imagine myself 16 years ago saying, you know, will I establish a relationship with them? And I'm here to tell you, because I see everybody, you know, in their efforts to position themselves in this Bigfoot world. And I never tried to do that. However, it happened. And it happened because in my heart, I felt like we had to share this story. And Matt, as I look around, there's not too many people that seen him eye to eye, face to face. And I can tell you, and anybody listening out there, that I have talked to these people, not because I want the world to praise me, but I want the world to understand that they're real and they're to be respected, and they are closely connected to God in Jesus Christ. So whoever's out there squawking, I challenge you to come see me. Give me a call, and we'll figure it out. So anyway,
Well,
you know.
Yeah, no, that you know, that's a perfect segue into one of the questions I had for you. You know, you're talking about having this faith and this relationship with these beings. I understand that. I do. I somewhat have a similar type of relationship ongoing with the ones that are in closer to home, I should say. And if you don't mind me asking, like, what is it that you're praying to them about when you're doing these prayers and communicating with them? Like, what are you saying? Like, what is your intention that you're giving these guys?
Well, it's pretty simple, and I can answer that straightforward. You know, we have, and I'm gonna tell the world, because we all know, you know, how the world is going today. You know, there's wars, and see, nobody wants to pay attention to that stuff. You know, people kind of say Barry's too spiritual, or Barry, you know, I've been on that other side, man. You know, I used to like to drink. I did all those things when I was younger, and I've decided that just got me nowhere. You know, so as I found God and as He's blessed my life, I can't turn my back on that. You know, and so it's to answer your question. You know, it was pretty clear to me by an elder. I thought she was going to get after me. Here, she gave me the greatest advice that I'd have ever received. That was to pray for them, and talk umaha to them, and respect them. Those are Omaha values. That's what my people believed, and that came with wisdom. And I've never heard, you know, I bet you all the people out there can tell you today that, man, I respect Barry. I get that all the time, and then that's not a braggy kind of thing. But if we set the standard, I'm good with that, you know, because it was all about my people and our relationship with them. So to me, we are just bringing out what my people believed. And to me, that makes me feel proud. So again, to answer your question, I pray for them. I pray for their existence. I pray for them just like I would pray for any other human being. If that's what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think I think that might be kind of the key to why you have the relationship that you do. you're being selfless in that act. And like you're taking something, an event that could potentially be super super selfish, going out there trying to get to be the one to make the discovery, and you're saying, oh, I'm here, I want to experience you, I'm here to take care of you, I'm thinking of you, not myself. And that it shows leaps and bounds that you're thinking about this subject, whatever you want to call it, in a completely different way than I can say at least 95% of the people doing it. I personally took a step back from doing these shows. I had some personal things going on in my life, but B, I was so tired of hearing the same thing and the same selfish opinions on the internet. And I didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't want to be promoting that type of attitude because I felt like these beings were calling me to a higher purpose, whatever they are. Trying to promote myself and make a quick buck is not it. And that there's a deeper message and that there's a deeper spiritual meaning. All need to attain, all of us. And, it's really an honor to have you here tonight and to be able to share that message too, because you guys are the true natives here. And, as far as I'm concerned, like you guys have the more accurate history than we do. Our government's constantly changing our history books, and, you guys' word and experiences should be respected just like they should. And I appreciate it. We are kind of cutting it close. Are you guys have another the premiere to go to, or you guys want to push it a little bit further?
Yeah, they're flying me in, so
yeah, there's the Learjets out in the front yard right now, waiting for him,
revving up, man. So
revving up for you, dude. No, I just it comes out here in an hour, I guess. And again, I'm more, if you knew what it took to do this, on paper, I look like a fool, but in my heart, it's something I really wanted to do and did. And, there's the story isn't all told yet. So for me, and I try to explain that, it was important for me to explain it in the film, what my motives were. I think it's a good representation of what their approach is, who they are, who we are, what's going on up there. And so I encourage people to check it out. Right now it's going to be on Paraflixx. Like I said, you go on there and do a free trial or $3.99 for a month and cancel it, whatever. And it'll be on a bigger platform as well pretty soon. And my hope is just that it gets a lot of exposure to the story. That's really the motivation. So we'll see what happens with it. I can tell you that, I didn't know what to expect, but I think there's something to, I know there's something to the relationship, because the second time I came up, and you'll see some of it on the film there, I think, I know they knew who I was. They knew that we're going to send him a message, something to take home, that he's going to know, that this is for real. And so it's not like you don't go up there for happenstance, right? I think a lot of people do. They go out there to try to catch an animal or to have a happenstance encounter in an area where there's a history of it is one thing. But to go up there more like, I'm going to meet an ancient people with special abilities that already know my heart before I get there. How are they going to read me? And if I come back again, they're going to go, okay, so he's pretty committed to wanting to at least make some kind of contact. We'll give him something. You know what I mean? And then who knows where it would go from there. Well, you look at Barry's situation where he's done that for all these years, and they kind of know his heart and what he's about. It gives credence to, like I said, we haven't even scratched the surface on the history of what he's experienced and the people have experienced. And, even some of the group, but primarily Barry and even some of Barry's lineage have experienced the same things. And even we didn't get a chance to talk to the people on the reservation. Like Barry and his brother get calls that, you know, it was out there last night. They're kind of, who are you going to call? You're going to call Rez Squatchin, like when these things happen. And so Barry calls the police before we get up there. We're going to be out tonight. No problem. Right? It's not like they're sneaking around and no one knows who they are or what they're about. It's pretty well known. And I don't know, man. It's not Squatchin in somewhere Oregon where there's, you know, reports. It's almost like you're on a reservation. It's a different animal altogether. The land itself is different. The history is different. You know, you can feel it when you get there. So it's hard to put into words, but we try to at least put it on film. So I think it's definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Like it was really good. There was a couple points where I almost started crying at one point because I was just like, man, this is just really real, and like it's so thought provoking and spirit provoking too. Like it makes you question like what your beliefs are. And on that note, like Barry, do you have anything you want to add before we get off here?
Well, if I could, you know, say this, that I think it's a testament to my people, my ancestors, you know, in the approach, you know, because again, that was important to me, you know, for us to do it the right way, and better yet, let's ask God. And let me say this, Matt, that I think and I got a lot of thoughts going on, but let me say this, that a good friend of mine that I respect, he said, Barry, he said, you're the feel-good story of the Bigfoot world that nobody knows. And even 5 years ago, I probably would have told you that. You know, I don't know if I really have a relationship with them. You know, I that was all like, is this a dream? And I'm not trying to tell a great story. What I want to share with you is that I think that we are closer to the reveal, and I'll leave it at that. And there's more to this, as James has been alluding to. And stay tuned, if that's fair.
Yeah, more will be revealed. I appreciate that. How about you, Stacy? You have anything else you want to say?
No, y'all just put a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money into this. So go check it out. $3.99 is what you pay to rent it on Amazon anyways. You get the whole month of Paraflixx, and if you're into ghosts and other stuff like that, I'm sure you'll get your fill, you know, get you a good trial of it. So yeah, y'all just check it out. And there's more to be told, and hopefully next time when we're filming it and telling it, it's not 19 degrees in Nebraska.
I will say
I'm not
this.
scared, but I don't like the cold. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Hey, Stacy, the worm, brother.
The worm.
The worm. Yeah, and listen, it's wild, and I do know just from some kind of tracking along with this. Unfortunately, this time of the year seems to be when they like to be around the most. Tonga is in the dead of winter. Maybe because there's not a lot of people around. I don't know, but the best chances are in the dead of winter. So we're going to have to get Stacy some like serious long, you know.
Well, you know, maybe there's maybe Barry could come down here where it's nice and warm, and he could, you know, maybe his methods are transferable. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe they're transferable.
Okay.
But I would love to show you the Southern man's world because that 19-degree shit.
They just told me that today. They messaged me today saying that they want to come down here and do that. And you know what?
Yeah.
What's cool? I'll leave with this. I was asked to go check out these footprints that are just 2 footprints. They looked human to me, but they're on a muddy bank of shore in this one area where there's a lot of stuff that Stacy's personally experienced. So I don't know. I don't know that were they making it up? What? But there was no footprints leading in or out. Like you couldn't get there without sinking into the mud. And they were just on the shore. So talk to the Seminole down here, Seminole medicine man, and he just said, "Oh, and he had a name for them. It wasn't Tonga. It was their name here." And he said, and it means the people who vanish, like they're in this world and then they're in the spirit world, is how he described it. And he said, they can leave 1 footprint and no trackway in or out in an area where you can't describe it. But he described the same things that Barry's experienced. And what's cool to me is this has been going on for 1,000 years. Tribes that had no way, a tribe in Oregon had no way to communicate with a tribe in Florida. Yet in their written history, their oral history, and their illustrated history, they describe the same thing. And it's not too far off. And they're all to be respected. Sometimes feared if you're a certain way, and they put them alongside of everything. You'd see bobcat, bear, owl, eagle, and then the hairy man, and then they've got all these different names for their area of it. There's no internet. These tribes never interfaced, but there's this. It's not an animal to them. It's another. It's an ancient people, and they talk about how you coexist. You don't certainly don't try to kill one. You don't try to capture one. It's all about the respect of coexisting. Like, what are the rules? Here's the ground rules, how we respect and coexist with these people, and they all have names for them. How do you explain that? So some of that, as I go more into the native side of it, is really fascinating. And the other thing is, why would there's no motive for tribes around the country to put this out there? There's no motive that's a benefit to them. In fact, Barry could probably, we could spend an hour talking about that. This isn't something that Barry's gotten like fame and notoriety and all that. If anything, it puts pressure on him if something like that does happen, because it's not just Barry. Barry's constantly talking about the community, the tribal elders, and what do they think about this? Like, that's a consideration, right? A farmer in Florida that has these experiences, he doesn't have to consider anybody else but what he's experiencing. And Barry and the group have to kind of factor in the line between respecting them and respecting their homeland, and the tribe is much bigger than just some guy waking up and talking about stuff going on outside of his property. Is that pretty accurate, Barry?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Very well said.
All right. Well, I think on that note, we will wrap it up. Everybody who watched the live show, thank you so much. Barry, Stacy, James, all you guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It has been it's been incredible. And everybody watching at home, make sure you go check out Paraflixx, because this is not a film that you want to just not watch. This is something that will change your life. And I think it being in the spirit of the holidays and with Christmas right around the corner, it's and with everything that's happening in the world, you could use a film like this in your life. So on that note, Merry Christmas to you all, and thank you all so much for coming on. It has been a blast.
Hey, Matt, quick side note.
Yeah.
These guys were, it was a pleasure and an honor to work with them. Stacy, James, everybody else. I love you guys, man.
Back at you, brother.
Likewise, man. We'll be talking soon.
All right, man.
And
all
James,
right,
that thing you did with your mouth, that pop,
yeah,
I was kind of turned on. I'm just gonna let you know.
I got a lot more where that came from, brother. You know me.
All right, everybody. Thank y'all.
All right, Merry
All
Christmas,
right, guys.
everybody.
All right. Have a good night.